We have to push back. We have to be the burr under the saddle. We have to throw the caltrops in their path. Otherwise, they win. And if you doubt me, all you have to do is look at what used to be called the Golden State, the greatest state in the country, the richest, the best educational system, the best highways. In every way, the other states looked up to California. And now look at it. It's turning into a needle and feces strewn Venezuela. And do you think that this bothers the Democrats, the Demsocs, the Democratic Socialists? It does not bother them at all because it assures absolute electoral supremacy forever. Okay, it's pretty hard to top the energy level of Alex in the last couple hours. I mean, it's not everybody can do that without blowing a rod. I feel it inside, though. I do. I'm a little calmer. I don't want to, bust up my microphones here, but I appreciate the spirit that drives the man. And if it wasn't for that spirit, there would be no InfoWars. There'd be no channel you're watching. There'd be no videos. There'd be no InfoWars store to keep it all going. So I really do appreciate it. And I try to pick up some of that energy. I might not manifest it in quite exactly the same way, but that strength of that Alex is like a waterfall or a geyser at times. It's like a burning fire, and we should all feel some of that and pick some of that up because it's a rare thing. It's a rare thing. There's people with that kind of energy, but that don't have the platform. And the fact that the powers that be, that the left is trying so hard to shut down InfoWars and other alternative channels just shows how much they fear us. Because honestly, socialism can't exist where there's a free market of ideas because their ideas are so idiotic and obviously patently stupid. They can exist in a university because they've made that a monopoly of ideas where alternate voices are essentially disallowed or kept underground because people are afraid to speak their mind. And it's increasingly extending into corporate world. And you can even see it, for example, on the internet, in social media, when you see guys like Joe Rogan kissing up to Jack Dorsey, basically giving him a free pass and all but saying, "Look, I'm your boy, and you cover for me, and don't ban me, and I'll cover for you." And it's a huge suck up. I see it even on our side with the cruise ship conservatives, the Conservatism Inc. guys they're putting out a conservative message, but they're really just catering to a clique, to the some would call it controlled opposition, or the really mamby-pamby GOP elite type of a crowd, and that's not going to win. The controlled opposition is a loser strategy. That's like the Jews in the German ghettos that just said, just obey the laws and everything will turn out well. It won't turn out well. At the individual level, you could compare it to what some people call the gray man strategy. I'm just going to be camouflaged. I'm just going to pretend to go along and get along. But if everybody is the gray man, which I guess is like the exact bell-shaped opposite of Alex Jones, if everybody out there, you so-called conservatives, all try to be the gray man, do you know what that actually is? On a massive scale, that's called surrender. That means the left wins. We have to push back. We have to be the burr under the saddle. We have to throw the caltrops in their path. Otherwise, they win. And if you doubt me, all you have to do is look at what used to be called the Golden State, the greatest state in the country, the richest, the best educational system, the best highways. In every way, the other states looked up to California. And now look at it. It's turning into a needle and feces strewn Venezuela. And do you think that this bothers the Democrats, the Demsocs, the Democratic Socialists? It does not bother them at all because it assures absolute electoral supremacy forever. And they don't care if they rule the ruins. They don't care if down at street level, the streets are covered with human excrement and heroin needles. They don't care because up at the 50th floor and at the ranches that you have to helicopter into, life is better than ever. You know, Silicon Valley is great for the millionaires and billionaires who are leftists, but they're essentially like feudal overlord leftists. So they don't care if where the middle class used to exist, there's now a flight from the state being replaced with third world immigrants. They don't care. And not only do they not care, that's the plan for your state. So when your Democrat and weak Republican politicians aren't strong on the border, what they're saying is they're winking to each other and laughing at you and saying, your state is the next California, Calizeulla. And if Florida or Texas flips to Democrat socialist, it's over. You know, in California, I put down some notes what the formula is. You know, once they get a control of Congress or the state legislature, they begin to gerrymander. This makes it harder and harder for any Republican coalition to exist with any kind of power. Then they pass things that are ridiculous on their face, but hey, they've stood now for more than a decade. Motor voter, handing voter cards to illegal aliens and telling them at the same time, don't worry, nobody's ever been charged with voter fraud. We don't even have a voter fraud division in California. So if you happen to accidentally vote, nobody will come after you. Now they've upped it to something called vote harvesting, where they find out the registered Democrat voters that haven't voted and go to their house and basically, like union goons, strong arm them into filling out a ballot and then taking it in to be counted. Not Republicans, just Democrats. And when that isn't even enough, they'll just do Broward County style ballot stuffing, which is what they did in Orange County. When we went to bed at like 10 o'clock on election night, the Republican congressmen were winning in Orange County. By the next day, it was flipped. They had gained so many votes, corrupt, fraudulent votes, that they won in a Republican stronghold of Orange County. So essentially the difference between Broward County, Florida, and Orange County, California, was that Broward didn't pad it. They didn't have an estimate correctly enough that we need 80 or 100,000 false votes, that 60,000 won't be enough. Well, in Orange County, they had enough. And believe me, what they say, when California catches a cold that the whole country is going to get the flu. I forget how that saying goes, but this is the model for every state. We're going to see in 2020 massive, massive voter fraud. Once they get, God forbid, if Trump is either thrown out of office or loses a re-election, we get a President Kamala Harris. We're going to see things that are going to make today look like the good old days. We'll see the Electoral College gone. You know, that'll be the next thing. The states are already volunteering that they're not going to abide by the electoral breakdown, that whoever wins the majority in their state that will basically, whoever wins the popular vote nationally, that their state will throw their electoral votes that way. So this is democracy, the mob rule taking over against the promise that every state will be guaranteed a Republican form of government. When you go all the way back to the 17th Amendment, like in 1912, the Senate wasn't supposed to be just another Congress. It was supposed to answer to the state government, not direct election. So you can see how step by step we've been morphing towards mob rule. The end of mob rule is Calizeulla. And that's coming to every state in the country if we don't put a stop to it. And I'm really glad to see that the battle has been joined now, if it's the news is correct, with the emergency and the border protection. That's what's coming, and that's the fight that's worth fighting. And we'll talk about it more on the other side of the break. Okay. While we're looking at those nice-looking books there, I forgot to mention these two books, my last two novels. I put them on a free Kindle, Amazon Kindle free run for today. So you can go and get my last two novels. They're both, post-dystopian, the kind of realistic heroes, though. I don't like the typical guys that can speak 20 languages and parachute down the Kremlin's chimney. I don't write that kind of crap. I try to write stuff that has some good tricks, good lessons, and things that actual regular human beings could do. Yeah, I was thinking about something that happened last week. I was out at a friend's farm, and this is in rural Virginia, Florida. I used to live in Virginia. And we met a neighbor down at the corner of the property line, just sort of like where the corner properties meet. And it was sort of a random event, farmer going by on the tractor. Long conversation ensued as these things happen. And the fellow mentioned he was a Christian and he was looking forward to the rapture. He was an older guy, maybe, another 10 or 15 years older than me. And my friend across the fence from this new guy on the tractor said, I hope I don't go up in the rapture. Personally, I don't know about the rapture thing, but these guys seem to be on board with that. My friend said, I hope I don't go up because there's too much work to be done down here. The Lord's going to need some soldiers down here to take care of what's coming, because it is going to be a fight. I'm really glad to see that the president has joined the fight, declaring an emergency, fighting for the border. This is what you call a hill that's worth dying on. Some things aren't, but this is. And I don't care what the mainstream media says about it, and I don't care what judges say about it. If a federal judge says that the commander-in-chief of the United States is not allowed to defend the borders of the country from an invasion where thousands walk into the country every day and demographically overturn, without the will of the people, without consulting us, overturn our electoral system, as we've seen in Calizeulla and happening now in other states. I mean, good Lord, who could have ever imagined Virginia turning Democrat? You drive around Northern Virginia, or as they call it, Yankee-occupied Northern Virginia, above Richmond. You drive around Fairfax County, all you see is signs in Spanish and Korean. It's unbelievable. This has all been done with the knowledge of these Democrat quislings, and it's the same governor. He's just turned loose all the felons to vote. Do you think that heritage Americans, that actual, been here for centuries Americans, are ever going to win in these states that have been invaded? No, they're not. They've been demographically conquered. And if we can't stop the flow, and at the border is the most important, if we can't stop the flow, this country's done. It won't matter what you do politically. Every state is going to be Calizeulla. Then it's going to be on to abolishing the Electoral College, and it'll be a straight mobocracy. And that's just what the Democrats have planned for us. Probably everybody has seen the movie Idiocracy. If you haven't, I highly recommend that you watch it. But I have one difference. I actually believe that the movie Idiocracy is coming true right before our eyes. But whereas in the movie, the president is a ex-wrestler, porn star moron named, I think, Camacho. In reality, and they rely on a soldier who wakes up from a cryogenic experiment to, guide them back to sanity. In reality, it's not a President Camacho. It's a president, in the real idiocracy, you have very smart and evil leaders who know exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it. They don't ever admit it publicly, but what they're doing, and this is the formula that I come back to, it's Dunning-Kruger plus Cloward-Piven equals the DemSoc strategy. Dunning-Kruger means you have so many people that are basically morons. When people are fairly dim and they don't get what they want, they get angry. They don't just get confused. They actually think, I should have it, damn it. I should have what I see on TV. And when they don't, they get angry. This is a pretty normal reaction. And what demagogues do, people that are very intelligent and they know better, they say, your anger is justified. The reason you're angry is because those scapegoats over there have taken what should be yours. In Germany, it was the Jews. Now it's white Christian men, conservatives. We're being set up for the next scapegoats. It's a very extremely evil strategy that they're pulling. And it's depending for the time being, the Democrat policy on an intersectional identity alliance, where you draw together all these disparate minority groups and you cobble them together into a coalition. But it's a very weak strategy going forward because it can only exist in a realm that's controlled by political correctness, where you're not allowed to say that it's evil to dress up, a little 6-year-old boy as a drag queen and have adult homosexual men putting dollars in his pants, where you're afraid to say it's evil, it's wrong, to abort babies at the moment of birth. And if you do, the mainstream media, they won't say a word. They were a little bit worried about the blackface, but they don't give a damn at all about post-birth abortion, fourth trimester abortion. This is pure evil. But when the string finally plays out, as Peter Schiff was talking about in the last hour, eventually the Democrats blow up the economy. The dollar is worthless. It's no more than a ruble, inflated like Venezuelan bolivars. And the next thing is going to happen is a complete collapse of the EBT system. The country is going to go completely off the rails. At that point, political correctness goes out the window. And when political correctness is gone, this identity politics alliance is bound to fracture because, Latinos and homosexuals and transsexuals, in the end, all of these splinter groups have nothing in common. Whereas the core heritage Americans, those of us who were born and raised, in the America of days gone by, not saying it was perfect, but it was strong. And what our group has been doing, we've been studying this political situation, whereas you have idiots like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they are so stupid that they think that they can just, spin like a golden thread on a spinning wheel. They think that they can just spin trillions of dollars out of thin air. They're so ignorant. On the other hand, conservatives have been studying the rise and fall of empires and of economies. We know how communism comes to rise. We've understood and studied every revolution, the French Revolution, Bolshevik Revolution. We know that they can't succeed until we're disarmed. And that's not going to happen. We'll never allow them to disarm us. So they think that they're going to ride towards some kind of a socialist utopia, which we know always fails, but all they're going to get instead is a civil war. And I don't know about the left, but my friends have been buying weapons and training, buying ammunition and training. And there's a saying I like to repeat: those who don't know what zeroing a rifle means should not pick a fight with those who have and do understand what zeroing a rifle means. And people that do have zeroed rifles, eventually it's not going to be faculty lounge rules, political correctness. It's going to be who's got the food, who's got the fuel, and who can deliver it. That's what's coming. So we need to harden our hearts. We need to gird for a long battle. because it's coming. It may be next month, or it may be, after the 2020 elections, who knows? But I'm glad to see that the battle is now out in the open with President Trump taking care of the border finally. But we'll see. Time is going to tell. And that's it for me today. And we'll be back. I'll be back in 2 weeks, God willing, and the creek don't rise. Support Alex Jones and InfoWars, and let's keep going.
For those looking for the ultimate source of energy for their day, every day, the Brain Synergy Combo is here. Combining the powerful Turbo Force and Brain Force Plus nootropic formulas, this combo has what you need to hit your maximum potential every day. Take the tasty tropical berry-flavored Turbo Force instant drink mix with you on the go or at work to help provide you with focus, clarity, and energy, and to reach your full potential. Hit the next generation of advanced neural activation with the Brain Force Plus nootropic, a fan-favorite formula fueled by powerful, time-tested ingredients for a true 360 win. With this combo, you can have energy wherever you need it, at home, on the go, in the car, and more. Get pure energy on tap and take advantage of old and new InfoWars powerhouse formulas with the Brain Synergy Combo. Head to InfoWarsStore.com today